Since the early 1970s, I have studied nature with a desire to create art. From inspirations, memories, and the aesthetic that flows into my creative being. In nature, I disappear into a spirit place. I connect and become part of a living prayer. The prayer continues as I paint. Time and other concerns fade from my mind as I go with a flow of energy and inspiration. I look past the veil of the material world into a world shared with my Celtic ancestors. I discover thin places. In these places, a spirit seems to reveal paths one can travel to get closer to the Creator. In such a place, perception is changed, and so-called normal life is transformed. I return from these places and bring back what I discovered in transit, the spirit of nature. It is shared with others through my art and my journal entries. The journal is expressed on paper, canvas, ink, and paint. It's a kind of graphic equivalent of what flowed through my brush, my pen, and my soul. I continue to create because I believe I am responding to spiritual, political, and environmental concern to do what I can as an individual to encourage others to also examine the sublime world of nature and to be a good steward of it. I believe we can be advocates of conservation and the development of new sources of energy that pollute less. In the spirit of nature, we sense dimensions beyond the threshold of perception. An aesthetic beyond our understanding is felt in the sublime world of places relatively untouched by commercial interests of man. I fear pollution, strip mining, oil drilling, and other consumption of natural resources that can turn the sublime world into a world without the qualities I cherish. I advocate we progress into the future acting as stewards of the environment and act responsibly so that we can pass on to future generations the same natural beauty and plentiful resources that we inherited. I fear extinction of species as we presently live. Animals are our next of kin. They have lived with our ancestors, and we will need them to accompany future humans. After the mass die-offs of the past, the animals appeared with man, and mankind needed them. What a lonely world it would be without our next of kin. Now, as I reconcile the past, consider the future, and more importantly, live in the present, I take notes and post my feelings on a website. I share with a growing community of like-minded people what I believe and pray for future generations of God's children and God's creatures. I pray that they may share what's left of the world that we inherited. Our artifacts will be left behind like those of our ancient ancestors. I also believe if we are not to survive, but to dissolve like the wildflowers that wither into mulch at the end of their brief season, seeds of our thoughts and prayers will survive in the mind of God. I am conscious of all that connects us creatively because of what I have seen as the Creator flowed through me. I believe my feeling of smallness in the world also reveals the spiritual light that burns bright and projects upon the walls of my soul. I must share these graphic equivalents with others to keep my fire burning. My beliefs are never imposed on my fellow man. Rather, they are shared tools to build creative communities of people dedicated to preserving a spirit of nature worth passing on to future generations.